like, is this a mistake?
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dogs of all ages, not cats. Cats do not tune into the Schoch Factor. This isn't a podcast for cats. Except Jordan's cat, of course, because Jordan's cat is tuned in, locked in for the Schoch Factor podcast. I had a lot of his cat's drinks at his wedding this summer, actually. So, of course, your cat's included. But I am joined, as always, by the beautiful, handsome, and they smell nice today. They smell really good today. I don't know what it is. Jake Mintz, Jordan Shusterman, how are you guys doing?
I haven't put on deodorant in a week, Steve. Not sure what you're smelling.
It's the nature.
Thank God for StreamYard then, keeping us safe from Jake's odors. It is so good to see you, Steve. It is our first weekend recap podcast. Jake and I are at spring training. I'm in Arizona. Jake is in Florida, but guess what? We both made time to watch a lot of college baseball while we were down here, and so we are going. I'm excited to talk about the ball. We all saw some college baseball IRL this weekend. I'm so excited to talk about it with my dear friend Steven.
Oh, it was such a good week. It's a rare week where everyone is going to get to have an in-person experience and get to talk about those, which is fun. Jake?
Steve, how many times do you think the song "The Boys Are Back in Town" was played at college baseball venues across the country this past weekend? 100? 1,000?
I got to say the percentage is a tune and probably similar to the percentage of teams going to away trips that watch The Wolf of Wall Street on the bus. I will.
That's true. Nothing gets you ready to get mercy ruled like, oh.
Well, I was just going to say that I feel like we need a slight remix that's just the boys are in town, right? Because sometimes there are a lot of tournaments all over the country. Sometimes these guys haven't played in these places. I know Oregon State coming down to Surprise like 10 years in a row. So in that case, they were indeed back in town. But in other places, they were in town for the first time.
And with the transfer portal, it's the new boys are now in town.
Yes.
Yeah. I think they need to regroup and just kind of rewrite the song, an updated version, like many people are saying they need to do with the Constitution, making it apply to today's terms. I think that's the way it goes. Jake, you look confused.
Civic Steve.
Look, dude, you know me, the super political Steve, who's running on the platform of dingers and dongs, and that's it. That's all we're looking for.
I love that.
Good news. Good news. Many a home run to discuss on this episode of the
I've reached a point, just quickly, I've reached a point where I saw some guy, I think he was on Wichita State, hit a 490-foot home run. Oh, and my first thought was, I can't wait to tell Steve it's not real.
Yeah. My first thought was, that's it? Only 490?
It's just crazy that Giancarlo Stanton can't even hit home runs that far this time of the year. You know, yes, and we got Seth Stroh doing it for Wichita State. Like, sign me up. I'm here.
I literally don't think there is a 490-foot home run in the big leagues last year.
Yeah, I don't think maybe one, but it's not something that happens.
We got one on the second day. And let me say this, I'm not complaining. Juice the bats up. Keep the balls juicy, baby. I love it.
Jake, Duke hit 11 home runs in one baseball game.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, like 11 homers, to me, 11 homers in one game is crazier than one 490-foot home run with Mel Bats.
Let's get into 11 home runs in one game.
Yeah, you want to? I saw it live and in the flesh.
Okay, so this is a good transition. Let's start with you, Steve. Where were you and what college baseball did you see this weekend with your two?
I was at Coastal Carolina for the baseball at the beach tournament, which was a lot of fun. Lots of good baseball was played. There was a lot of action.
Did any of
the teams that were there?
Did any of the teams go to the beach though?
I believe so. I would like to think so. George Mason's hotel was literally a 10-minute walk from the exit to the beach. If I'm on that club, I'm going to the beach. I'm going to enjoy it. You know, you're right there. It's a weekend where Indiana, Duke, and Coastal Carolina may have not, welcomed you to the college baseball season as well as they welcomed each other and their teammates.
I was gonna say, going to the beach might have been the most welcoming part of George Mason's weekend.
Which, hey, that's all part of it. Sometimes you're the windshield, sometimes you're the bug. It happens. You got to do that to get your skin tough. But I love the baseball at the beach tournament because my first experience playing college baseball was baseball at the beach, where it was App State, Coastal Carolina, UVA, and ODU, and we just got pounded. But here we are, like 10 years later, and things are going pretty okay for me. I'm having an okay life. So it's a rite of passage, truly. And unfortunately, my friend Rusty and his squadron of George Mason, they went through that rite of passage. And Duke may or may not have hit 11 home runs, which you take my friend Rusty and those feelings out of it. It was a lot of fun to watch the home runs fly. AJ Gracia, a freshman, he has, I believe, 4 hits to his name in college baseball. 3 of them are home runs, all from the same game, all against George Mason. This kid hates George Mason. I don't know what the Patriot did to him, but he hates him.
So George Mason this weekend went 0-3. They lost to Coastal Carolina in the first game of their season by a score of 26-0. They lost to Duke 23-5, and then they lost to Indiana in a competitive 9-3 showdown. I love that they allowed 11 home runs and allowed fewer runs than the game they played the day before when they allowed 26.
Well, I love that they allowed 11 home runs and then allowed 9 runs the next day to an Indiana offense that is better than Duke's, in my opinion. Yeah. Like I think keeping them to single digits, considering how Indiana was swinging it, that's a pretty good achievement. I think the Patriots' issue is that they're not in the Patriot League. I know. Listen, we love the A10, but like that's where you would have the advantage if we had a lot of movement here. Could we get them in the Patriot League?
Bill Belichick is available. The Patriots could use some help. Steve, what was the experience of seeing 11 home runs in one game in person?
What home run? What number home run were you like? Wait, what number was that?
AJ Gracia's second home run, I was like, okay, something's up, because Alex Stone is a giant human being. He hit a home run that went very far, and I was like, okay, no, makes sense. He should be hitting these home runs. AJ Gracia was like, off the bat, one of them sounded like he kind of capped it, still got out. I was like, this guy has the power of the baseball gods behind him. Something is going on where there's going to be a lot of home runs. And don't get me wrong, it still was a hard hit baseball. It just didn't sound like the others. Like, I feel like in today's game, the past weekend of college baseball, with the way the baseball has been sounding off the bat, it's like one of those, comic home run numbers where it's like, okay, this ball is going 490 feet. It sounds like they're hitting a golf ball with a slow pitch softball bat. But when they're going out and it doesn't sound like that, that's when I'm like, okay, today is a good day at the yard to watch the ball fly.
Steve, do you think that George Mason's, let's be kind, less than ideal weekend at the ball yard had anything to do with the fact that you joined them for Wet Eggs, the official sponsor of the Schoch Factor podcast? You joined them for Wet Eggs the morning before their first game. What did you put in the eggs, Steve?
I think that's the problem. There was a lot of talk about the eggs. There was a lot of people murmuring about the eggs, talking about the viscosity and the moisture levels. But I didn't see anyone actually eat an egg. So I think the lack thereof, the lack of consumption is the problem here. I think that could do it. Because, I see, from my perspective, you get in my shoes. You look at it from my perspective. I walk into this hotel and I talk to these guys. They talk about the eggs. It's great. I have a lot of fun. I go to the field. Game doesn't go great. I hadn't seen them eat eggs. So we go back. We run it back. Maybe they do eat eggs. Entirely different story.
Yeah. I just think that that's a huge oversight from them. If you go down to breakfast from your hotel and there are legal PEDs available to you in the form of wet eggs, which we all know and you don't
we
eat
know
them,
that.
Yeah.
it's on you.
It's the eggs. Everybody talks about, that kid's got home run juice in his bat. What do you think they're pouring on these eggs? It's
Home
just
run juice.
insane that people will overlook the home run juice. But on the other side of things, Coastal, Duke, Indiana, I mean, these teams were putting on a show. I was really impressed with the baseball I saw out of them. I was still impressed with George Mason at times, but there were obviously more bright spots for the Coastal, Duke, and Indiana teams. And on the mound, Duke, they're the real deal. I know we talk about Wake Forest and Arkansas having insane pitching staffs. And Duke I feel like they flew under the radar till I got slapped in the face with it, with like Jonathan Santucci and all those guys. They can really toss the ball, and offensively, they're a team that's going to make some noise this year.
We're going to, at the very end of this episode, we're going to update our team's draft standings. I've gone through and updated those, and I have Duke and Indiana. Jake is already hiding because of some of his results of his teams. But hey, it's early, boys. Week 1. We got a long season ahead of us. Anyway,
wait, this is a good transition to the games I saw.
Oh, sure.
Because I saw 2 of the teams I drafted play one another.
Oh, that's true. I forgot. Yes, I forgot you took UConn too. Yeah.
I took UConn and Louisville. I saw them face off at USF in Florida down here. And I remember I sat down and I was like, oh, awesome. Like, I get to see Louisville. I took them. And then I was like, oh, shit. I took UConn too. And then I was like, guaranteed a win. And then I was like, oh, guaranteed a loss. Damn. I saw that game, really competitive game, UConn walking off after hitting. So they hit back-to-back homers, I think in the 8th inning to tie it, and then they walked it off in the bottom of the 9th. UConn's roster just chock full of D3 transfer legends. They got a D3 guy hitting in the, what is that? You put hearts out there?
Yeah,
love that.
for Paul Tomorrow and Jake Studley.
They got D3 guys in the 3 and the 4 hole, which is just fabulous. So I saw that game, and then I went down and saw St. Thomas, the Tommies, against the St. Louis Billikens in the Snowbird Classic. Jordan, I had a friend of ours, a big league scout, make a point about how media members that cover the big leagues don't go to spring training when there are games going on. And he said, people who actually like baseball go to spring training when there are baseball games. And I responded, do not talk to me. I watched 8 innings of St. Louis against St. Thomas today. I got real heated. Not to say that those games are bad. St. Louis was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
But it was sloppy at the end of that endeavor.
Yeah. Well,
that's fair.
Yeah.
Any of the cold weather teams, it's all, you got to thaw out. That was just part of the thawing process. Did you find out what a Billiken is while you were down there? Did anyone grace you with that info? Did you see a Billiken? Probably not, because you're breathing. So
I saw 25 Billikens fighting and dying for one another out there on the ball field, Steve.
Well, and hey guys, if we learned anything this weekend, is that if we're projecting forward in the A10, we're feeling a little bit better about St. Louis than George Mason. Is that? I mean, it seems like we can probably say that.
Hey,
maybe I'll be wrong. What
did you see? What did you see?
So it's just, you mentioned, so I started off real nice and sloppy down here in Arizona with a 11 or 14 to 11 in 12 innings, Western Michigan versus Michigan. Let me just tell you the moment, the first bunt thrown down the right field line by a left-handed pitcher of the season was just, it was like, oh, college baseball is back, baby. And shouts out to Western Michigan, who I know Michigan's, certainly not, they've trended in the wrong direction since their appearance in Omaha. But they still have some real talent, certainly on the offensive side. Pitching was no bueno for those two teams, but definitely some entertaining baseball. A lot was happening at the very least. So that was cool. And then I was at the probably the best game of the weekend was Kansas State and Cal. A bunch of potential first round picks in there: Rodney Green, Caleb Lomvita. I didn't see Tyson Neighbors pitch, but I did see Kalen Culpepper. Of course, I am his number one fan. I got to see him hit a 410-foot triple over the head of Rodney Green. Just an incredibly impressive athlete. And yeah, so that was a pretty solid game. Then the next day I saw Grand Canyon USC. Highlight of that was Zach York. I mean, what a freaking hitter, who's just an absolute unit in the best possible way.
You mean Zach Torque?
Let me tell you. Oh, this was cool. Before that game, they had Homer Bush Jr. Threw out a first pitch to his dad, which was cool. Of course, he was on Grand Canyon last year. And then it was also Kyle Hurt threw to Blake Sable. So to USC alums also in the house for that. So that was some kind of a random first pitch assortment. So nothing too memorable for that game. Austin Overn's very fast, USC outfielder. And then the real highlight, though, and I'll get to this a little bit later with my player of the week, Oregon State against Bakersfield. And I'll save the Bazana story for later on the podcast, but he was outstanding. I saw him hit 2 home runs, and there was a funny sequence that I'll get to later. And I am going to see one more game, Kansas State and Arizona State are playing on Tuesday, so I'll be at that game as well. So it was good. It was a good time, Steve.
Yeah, that sounds like a great weekend. And if you're a Kansas State fan, just know if you show up at any game, Jordan's going to be there. It doesn't matter where you are. He's going to show up.
I'm following you, Pete Hughes. I got to see as many Culpepper ABs as possible.
Don't mess with
you
Pete
got to
Hughes.
get him in.
Don't mess with Pete Hughes. He was in the town.
That is definitely not someone I want to be following. That seems very risky.
Hey, before we go any further, Steve mentioned baseball at the beach, and I think this is a great time to shout out our sponsor, the Atlantic Ocean. Without whom baseball at the beach would be impossible.
So
it would be downright inconceivable without that Atlantic Ocean right there.
It would be baseball near the sand.
Yeah, and you talked about going to war for your brothers, and you know who goes for the war? Soldiers. Speaking of soldiers, have you heard of our sponsor, Soldier Sports? And the 2025 Soldier Tank BB Core baseball bat by Soldier Sports. This isn't just any bat. It's lighter and hotter than any of its predecessors, much like me when I was younger than I am now, because I'm only getting worse with age. This is thanks to its infused power alloy technology. Yeah.
Ad read pause. You're lighter than you were now than when you played. You're lighter now and hotter.
I don't know about hotter. Physically, I don't think I am hotter, just because when I was 280, always sweaty. So that's where it's
like I'm more attractive. I think, like the Soldier Sports bats, you are lighter and hotter than you've ever been.
And not only that, when Jake grabs me by my ankles and swings me around, he hits home runs too. Crafted from over 2.5 years of research and development, the Soldier Tank is the perfect blend of speed and power. Steven Schoch is not a good blend of speed and power. It's taken about 27 years of research to get to this point, and it's only getting worse. You want to hear the Soldier Sports equation for extreme power? Then you take speed, you take mass, take impact, put it in one, add them together, multiply them, do whatever math you want to do to them. It's going to equal extreme power. I've seen the Soldier Sports Tank swung. It's got juice. No other bats have juice like it. The bat is priced at an incredible $311, which is just 3 easy payments of $100 and some change. If we're going the easy payment method, which I think is a great way to break it down.
No chance of dividing that by 3 on the fly.
Dude, it's 103.75, 103.75. I believe.
Keep going, Steve. Keep doing the reading.
Either way, it's well worth it to swing the top scoring BB Core bat ever. They're selling out fast though, so head over to soldiersports.us to secure yours today. Jake, how we do? We're working on them. We're working on them. That Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah, well, but again, those ad reads, we thought those would have prepared you for the real ones, but alas. Steven Schoch.
I gotta say, think about it like this, right? When you listen to a podcast and there's an ad, most of the time you just press 30. You press that little 30 on your phone, and then you're listening to your pod again. You're not doing that with our Soldier Sports ad reads. That's for damn sure.
Not when Steve starts saying words into a microphone.
Because if you
not when Steve's trying to divide by 3.
Because if you hit the skip 30 by the start of the ad read, that only gets you to the second paragraph. Typically for me.
It's a good point. Steve, let's transition.
Moving along.
Our next topic. Of course, this is something that we've introduced previous seasons. This is something that's very, very important to us. And we have, we're going to give out more traditional awards later on with our player and pitcher of the week, but we have to bring back a classic, Steve. So why don't you explain to us once again about some giblets?
Yeah, so of course we have the Stephen Schoch Giblet Tickler of the Week, which is it's either a team, player, fan. It could really be literally anyone who was at a baseball game or thought about it. It can be anything. But the long story short here, fellas, is it's been months since my giblets have been tickled. And they got tickled. They got tickled. It was a great weekend of college baseball, but no one tickled my giblets more than Caleb Cozart from UNC Greensboro. Now, have you guys heard of this Caleb Cozart? Have you heard of him? Are you familiar?
I'm vaguely familiar. I know he was a transfer from UNC, but I don't know what he did this weekend. So tell me about it.
Yeah, so a little bit about this weekend. This gentleman decided to go a casual 6 for 11 while smashing 4 home runs and 1 double. And that's incredible. And so, of course, we tweet about that. We share that. This gentleman has had a lengthy career. He started out at UNC and then transferred to UNCG in his sophomore season, I believe, or after his sophomore season. And then in 2021, he's redshirting because he's getting a little bit of Tommy John, getting it all fixed up. Finds out he has a brain tumor, finishes the 2021 season with the tumor, gets it removed, comes back, rehabs, best shape of his life for 2022, transfers to UNCG, has a great summer. He's going to pitch and, two-way there. And he just goes off. He absolutely goes off at the plate. He hasn't been on the mound yet, but I'm very excited to watch Caleb Cozart just throughout the rest of the season, see where his career takes him, because it's been an incredible story so far.
4 homers on opening weekend, only 7. And he had a good year last year. He had 7 homers in 45 games last year. He's already got 4 through 3 this season. So that is some sufficient tickling. I think that is a great shout out, Steve.
Of course. It sufficed. And the whole Cozart family, I do want to get into it. His brother, Jacob, of course, NC State has an absolute cannon. He has a third brother who's not in college baseball yet. And I'm going to keep him a bit of a mystery. But from what I've heard, he's like projecting to be a top 10 draft pick, apparently, from different publications. So keep an eye out for that, too. Yeah.
Okay.
His name is Schoch Cozart.
Close. I believe his name is Sam, and you are very correct. I believe this is next year's draft, and this child who was born in like 2007 is listed on his PG player page as 6'7", 235. So he appears to be a pitcher. Unlike
I freaking hope
his catcher brother and Caleb. I don't know what position he plays when he's not pitching. But anyway, that is a great story, Steve. Shouts out to the whole Cozart family. All right, now we have to get to we're going to bounce around favorite moments of the week.
We have to start with the most important thing that has happened in college baseball, maybe ever, maybe in the history of the sport.
Okay, and it is related to Jake's name here on our stream. If you're watching on YouTube or if you're watching wherever, Jake. Again, if you've been watching this, listen to this for 23 minutes, you're really and you don't know what we're talking about. Boy, are you confused. But Jake, why don't you explain to us your name and then why that is what we're talking about? Or I do actually explain it first, then the name will come make more sense.
Well, my name right now, I'm going to do it the other way. My name is Davis Diaz's bowel movements, and Davis Diaz is one of the better hitters on Vanderbilt's team this year. And Coach Tim Corbin, who is, I think, one of the most serious individuals I have ever breathed the same air as. In a post-game interview, when asked why Davis Diaz didn't play that day, simply said he had the shits.
Very matter of fact, he had the shits. I love it for so many reasons. It's just so good because, anytime a star player isn't in the starting lineup, there's so much speculation. There's so much just what's going on with this person. Are they dying?
Can I do a little, here we go.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he had the shits. He's thrown up.
Those are two kind of different things. I also just want to point that out. Not that we should talk about this for that much longer, but that's two very unfortunate symptoms, I guess I would say.
In our society, when someone has the shits, there are spaces where we say that, like that, and there are spaces where we talk around it, and people know what's going on. Oh, Davis Diaz is got an upset stomach, right? And then everyone's like,
he could have said he wasn't feeling
well. Well, that's great. And I don't think I've ever heard a baseball coach say that a player of theirs had the shits. And for Tim Corbin, of all people, to be the trailblazer in sharing that players of theirs have the shits would not have been my pick. I couldn't be more delighted. What
an upset. So the thing I just want to bring up about this, and then we can move on to our other favorite moments, is that Davis Diaz did come into this game as a defender in the 8th inning, at least according to the box score. And that is a demonstration of they were like up by 10. So clearly he was not, ready and able for the first 5, 6, 7 innings, but for him to manage to
look when you need a man in a pinch.
I don't totally understand why he forced himself out there. Yeah.
Why was he not able to go at the beginning of the game? I just forgot. Could you?
Yeah, Steve, what was it? What was the reason?
It was he had the shits and was thrown
okay. Oh, okay. All right. Thanks.
Yeah. So just a minor case of the shits.
Davis Diaz. We wish you the best.
Come on the show.
We hope you are starting the next game for Vanderbilt, which is
this episode of the Schoch Factor is brought to you by Imodium.
Tuesday versus the Dayton Flyers. We'll see if Davis Diaz is in the lineup. Steve, let us move on from
speaking of guys who had a lot of the runs, let's talk about Tulane baseball in the 8th inning of their game against Northwestern, in which before they recorded an out in the 8th inning, there was a walk, a single, hit by pitch, walk, grand slam, single, scoring 7 runs to go up 12-7 over Northwestern before even recording an out in the 8th inning. It was absolute anarchy, absolute chaos. Lots of fun to watch. Highly recommend checking that out. That was a really good highlight. There was just so much random college baseball action going on too. Now, you guys, of course, you were in Arizona and Florida, humid climates, dry climate and humid climate, 2 very different climates. Good for different reasons. Of course, for hair, I prefer more of a humid climate. I don't really like it drying out. Ole Miss baseball was playing in Hawaii this weekend, and under weather of their post-game box score recap sort of thing, for weather they put good for hair or bad for hair.
Bad for hair. So what do you think that means? How do you describe that weather for me?
I would say very windy and hot. So I don't really understand because, Hawaii, that's a humid climate. If I'm not mistaken, bananas grow there, tropical fruits grow there. Lots of coconut oil, I assume, is there, which is great for hair. So to have wind that's bad for hair, surprising.
Mm-hmm. No, that's again, I just appreciate the creativity. Any way we can spice up a box score, I'm in full support. So no complaints from me.
I just got to know how many times they go in and type in just average day. Does anyone actually spice it up? I am going to be looking out for it. I'm going to be keeping an eye out for more people spicing up the box scores because that's great stuff.
Steve, why don't you describe to me this triple play that the Volunteers pulled off against Oklahoma?
Yeah, I would be elated to. So this triple play, we got Chris Stamos on the mound, and we get a bunt attempt from an Oklahoma batter because, of course, bunting wins championships. It's very important. But there's a runner on first and second. It's the top of the 7th, no outs. Chris Stamos on the mound. He delivers pitch home. The pitch is bunted up. There is a diving play from a pitcher. Pitchers aren't supposed to be athletic. Pitchers are athletes, by the way. Throws it to second base where I believe Christian Moore steps on the bag and then tags the runner from first base out. So it's a 4 triple play. Just insane.
If you're watching and you're like, what's Jordan freaking out about other than this being a crazy play? Jake, do you know about Chris Stamos? Because this gentleman, I did not realize was still in college baseball. He began his career at Principia College, which is one of the smallest, maybe the small, whatever. It's like one of the 5 smallest D3 schools in America, in Illinois. Their team, I think now is down to like 15 players. I don't know. It's like one of the smallest rosters in NCAA baseball. He transferred from there to Cal, where he was for the last couple of years. And I knew about that. I assumed by now he was like 25. Apparently, this is me finding out he's pitching for Tennessee. So I am all, I'm all kinds out of whack, but what a play for Chris Stamos.
It says that incorrectly on his Tennessee page that Principia is a JUCO. Like, it says Principia College JUCO. It is not. It's a Division III school. Okay. We played Principia my senior year, and we beat them. 27-1. Okay. And this guy's on Tennessee getting outs.
You scored more runs than players on Principia's roster.
It actually looks like they've kind of built it back up. I'm looking at their roster now, and it looks like they have like about 20 guys, which is a good sign.
This program had an adult on it at one point, and what I mean by that is there was a gentleman. I actually know his name by heart, and I'm not going to say it out of respect, but there was a gentleman who was like 37 and like had never played college baseball and like wanted to go back to school to like get a degree, which is awesome. And he made the team because they weren't very good. And he just like had a dad who like had like an older guy. Like he owned a restaurant in the town and was like playing right field for them.
I wanna make this clear. I'm looking at his. So it appears that Chris joined his brother on the team. At Principia in 2019. He was a freshman in 2019 when Alex was a senior. And in 2019, his freshman year, they had 16 players on the roster. And now he is pitching at Tennessee. That is a glow up of a lifetime. And wow, Steve, this is outstanding stuff. So, wow. And yeah, triple play is also cool too, but I'm still,
but even more so, I like the rabbit hole you guys took us down way more than that. Principia Athletics coming back from the depths, it seems like. And speaking of coming back from the depths, did you guys see the Missouri Bears Garrett Ferguson? You see what happened there? Missouri State. This is probably my favorite clip I saw all weekend in college baseball. If you haven't seen it, Garrett Ferguson takes a line drive back off the head. He is down and out, knocked out. He has no idea what happened. He's coming back to it. The video is his coaches and his trainer out there and catcher filming him like coming back to life, essentially, it seems like. And you can tell he's dazed, he's rattled. The ball ended up ricocheting, ended up being a double play and an inning-ending double play. And this kid, as soon as he finds out, that you can see in the video, he mouths the words to his coach, who's clearly telling him what happened. He goes, "No way," and then let's effing go. And that's college. This is what college baseball is all about. Damn it, I'll say it. I'll burn my one. This is what college baseball is all about. On that, and it was good. See, the whole screen shaking because of how good it was. But I just love that energy. It really is the embodiment of a college baseball player of. Don't care. We got outs.
It's great. It is a great clip of him coming off the mound. So, and I'm glad he's okay. Also, because comebackers are terrifying. Our next moment is a very simple one. Sam Houston, our beloved Bearcats. Shouts out to Jason Barfield, taking a series from the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Just absolutely love to see this.
So I was in the Baltimore Orioles locker room, both on Saturday morning and this morning, Monday morning. Colton Cowser, the highest drafted Bearcat of all time, has a locker like 6 lockers down from Jackson Holiday. Oklahoma State University legend who never went there, but his uncle's a coach and his dad, whatever. It's
Imagine those numbers. Can we just take a pause and just think about those numbers?
As a sophomore.
Yeah, he would be not eligible.
He'd be a sophomore. And every day, or the 2 days I saw it, Kaiser would just walk in and be like, how about those Bearcats, huh, Jackson Holiday?
Although, did you see what happened today?
Yeah.
Or I guess Sunday.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
He was like, yeah, that looks right.
It's like,
got the job done.
19-2, but hey, series dub is a series dub, so we'd love to see it. Always, and they ate them up, most importantly, Steve.
Yeah, and another fun play that there was, I think this was the most legit home run robbery of the weekend, was Ty Wilmsmeyer from Arkansas, going up and over the yellow line a little bit for Arkansas, but they got just such a great clip of it. Like the camera angle of it was phenomenal. They slow it down to where like there's no doubt and there's no questioning. Like this is one you tweet out, this is a home run robbery, and people are like, there's no refuting this. The data will not allow for any argument, which I love. That's very rare in a home run robbery, I feel like.
I also love that, and this is true in MLB too, like one of the great, pictures we've had in the last 20 years is the Mike Trout catch in Baltimore. And a big part of that is that you can see the crowd right there. And you have that same effect here with this Arkansas clip where with the slow-mo, amazing clip, you could see the crowd watching it happen very, very close. So shouts out to Ty Wilmsmeyer, Missouri transfer. Seems like one of those old boys that's going to really ball out this year at Arkansas. So
yeah, just an absolute rover of the SEC. Now moving along, looking at some action that occurred in the ACC and Big Ten, we had Illinois taking on Wake Forest, and this was one thing that really stood out to me. Everybody, of course, very excited about the Wake Forest baseball team, as we all should be, because they're super talented. They did great this weekend. But I want to point out that Illinois starter Logan Tabling had 7 strikeouts through 2 innings in Winston-Salem, which, numbers, that doesn't work. Drop third strike, I assume. But either way, to go through the lineup, this was his first time, I believe, going above 2 innings in college baseball. He went 4 innings total, gave up only 4 earned, which against the number 1 team in the nation. Not bad by any stretch of the imagination, but going into this game, I think he only had like 36 college innings under his belt, but I was really impressed with him. So he's someone I'm going to be keeping up with the rest of this season.
Yeah, I agree. Stuff's really good. Transfer from Wright State. Just hasn't really been healthy. He's pitched in a bunch of different summer leagues, and seems like Illinois, kind of an interesting landing spot, but to pitch like that against Wake, like that's a great example of like just striking out a bunch of Wake Forest hitters probably made him, $50,000 in the draft, like that is the kind of thing that performances, especially early season like that, can make a really big impact. So very curious to see how he does the rest of the season.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. Now, there was another very exciting one. This is a riveting one.
This one was a mess. This
one is just such a typical. It's perfect. I think Jake will really enjoy it. Of course, it was Florida Gulf Coast and TCU. In the bottom of the 9th inning with 2 outs, we have a drop third strike with Peyton Chatagnier on second base, which is an awful person to have on base when chaos can ensue on the base path. And chaos ensued. So, Jordan, what are your thoughts on this one?
Okay, so drop third strike, and basically, Chatagnier goes hard around third, and then when they pick it up and throw to first base for what would be the third out to send it to extras, it's kind of like a collision at first, and the ball gets away, and eventually Chatagnier scores, and they
this
do
is
some
the whole
reviewing.
Point of Peyton Chatagnier.
Exactly.
It's his masterpiece.
It's perfect. That's why they brought him to Fort Worth. Now, again, they do the review. Is there interference? Is there this, whatever? Eventually, they confirm it's over. But it was a very goofy sequence to end. And I know FGCU, they really competed in that one. It's a tough way to lose. But I'm sorry, more so than the play, I am just laughing at this Twitter interaction. So, Steve, our college baseball hero, tweets out the clip, and captions it. Still haven't processed the sending to the TCU game. Very standard, Twitter caption, totally normal stuff. A gentleman named Mark responds, "You must not watch a lot of amateur baseball." Laughing emoji happens fairly frequently. So
who's gonna tell him?
Oh, dude, please tell me more.
Yes, this was the first clip Steven's ever tweeted. Actually,
actually
Steve's like, you know what? I'm going to start watching college baseball today, and I'm going to start with TCU, Florida Gulf Coast.
Well, the best thing about an ending like this, Jordan, is when it's not like you should have made a good throw. It's you didn't even need to throw the ball.
Oh yeah, great.
Just
totally.
Put it in the pocket. Just put it in the pocket, man.
Yeah. No, they didn't do that. So
no.
Hey,
go ahead, Steve.
It happens. But moving along, another guy who kind of called game in a sense. Now, a little bit earlier was Jalen Flores for Texas. Hit this grand slam that was absolutely electric. It gave them the lead, and I think they eventually rode this lead out. I don't think this was the game they tied up. But what I want to highlight is at Texas, they have a certain area at the field called the Yeti Yard, which, of course, in the age of NIL, everything's an ad. But this Yeti Yard essentially looks like a bullpen for regular people to go into during baseball games and drink beers, which is my dream come true in life. And I like from this I watched this Jalen Flores home run, and my one takeaway was, holy crap, that's cool. Second takeaway was, I need to go there.
His first thought is, that's great. His second thought is, why does this need to be different than the actual bullpen?
Yeah, exactly.
This also be the bullpen where guys warm up.
How have we not noticed this before watching Texas games? Do we know if this is new?
It is new for the 2024 season. I believe they installed it like 2 weeks ago. I think we'll be seeing these things popping up in college baseball left and right because it looks low cost. Like, not to say it doesn't look great. Like, it looks great. I would love to be there.
It's pretty simple.
But it looks, like just strap a fence on, throw down some turf. Seems doable for a lot of people. And It looks like the beer stand in there looks like, honestly, the beer stand in the Yeti Yard kind of looks like a hot dog stand outside Home Depot. I don't know if you've ever seen one, but looks doable.
Jalen Flores is a super interesting player. He was a very, very famous high schooler and really struggled as a freshman. But now he's just batting third and playing shortstop for Texas, and he's draft eligible. He was an old high schooler. So like that dude could make a lot of money this year. Like, it's not like people don't know who he is. He just wasn't very good as a freshman. So, if he's going to, Steve, it won't be the last time he hits a home run into the Yeti Yard. I promise you that.
No, I will be there for one of them at some point. I got it. It looks so fun. Yes. Now, the last one, of course, we talked about Seth Stroth's 490-foot home run, which, of course, no one in the MLB can do, but college baseball players are just better and more talented, I guess. And then last guy I want to talk about is Trent Caraway, who hit 2 home runs this weekend, welcoming himself to college baseball. Jordan, were you able to see any of the home runs live and in the flesh?
I did not. I did get to see a few training. I saw him bunt, which was funny. I showed up to the second game and I watched him bunt and then immediately score on a Bazana homer. So I will just this will be a good transition to our players and pitchers of the week as we wrap up here. He is, again, it's one of those things, we talked about this when we saw LSU, we've seen some other teams, just freshmen, they don't look like freshmen, right? And that's really, I think, what stands out about a guy like Caraway. So it was also funny because he was batting ninth, right? Like, they had him down there. It's not like they were expecting much, and then he just came out hacking. He was like, all right, well, what do I got to wait around for? This New Mexico guy's going to throw me a fastball. Like, I'm going to swing and I'm going to hit it over the fence. So it's just a reminder of how absurdly talented these kids are and really exciting when they get to school. So he is, the Oregon State offense is ridiculous. And I guess we can transition this to my Bazana story quickly, which is basically that I was over there at the Surprise Complex and where the Rangers and Royals are. And I stopped by the Rangers in the morning and I went to the Royals, and I was at the Royals and the game started at noon. And basically I was like, okay, I need to, head back to Royals camp to do a few more interviews, but like it's so close that I can basically just walk over. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to walk over and see Bazana's second at bat. He had flown out in the first. Like, I'll walk over, I'll see Bazana, and I'll go back. And I walk over, I literally just, sidle up on the concourse, bam, just homer, like within 5 seconds of me standing there. And I got the video and I tweeted it. I turned around and I went back and then I finished my Royal stuff and I returned to the stadium. I walked back up. Travis Bazana's up with 2 guys on. Within 2 minutes, bam, another home run. And I was like, this is the most efficient version of scouting. I mean, this is great.
Ever.
If it was only this simple, say, I want to see the best player and him to go do something. I mean, it was outstanding. So I feel very fortunate. And yeah, I mean, obviously there was a billion scouts there. He's going to be very rich in a few months. But that whole lineup, the Beavers were a good pick for you, Steve, because they are going to just outscore a lot of teams. I wish they had some better competition this weekend, admittedly. But I think they will prove it against some better stuff too. So that was my player of the week. I'll send it over to you, Jake, I know there was another highlight of college baseball this weekend that certainly deserves to be talked about. And then we'll come back around and do pitchers.
Yeah, this really kind of broke into the mainstream. Matt Masciangelo, the legend, the ball magnet, he got hit 8 times in 3 games. Unbelievable.
This is.
I once actually did this in college, though, but I hit 8 batters.
Really?
Yeah. No, but yeah.
I'd believe it. So I think my favorite thing about him, though, is like 8 is an insane number and all, but he got robbed. He got hit with a stay right here. I tuned in the 8th inning one game. He gets plunked immediately, and I'm like, okay, what is it with this? Like, there's no way that actually happened. Like, I felt like I was watching a practical joke, and the umpire, does his hands up. The coach comes out to argue and all that. And they're like, I think they're upset that they might be throwing at him. And the other announcer's like, dude, something's going on here. But it was just insane. I'm going to have him on the next episode. So I'm very excited to pick his brain and, just make sure that he's all together,
I 100% agree. I'm doing some research here to see how many major leaguers have not been hit by 8 pitchers in their whole career and hundreds more plate appearances. But yeah, I'm excited for you to talk to Matt.
Yeah, I want to say Eddie Rosario, by the way, he's had like 4 in the 5,000 plate appearances, I want to say.
So you were already doing this research.
I only know it because it kind of just popped up on my feed after talking about this kid a bunch. It was like, people always say, don't let your phone know too much about you. Let your phone know all sorts of things about you. It really personalizes things. It's been great for me. If I didn't have cookies on, how would I know that I needed that portable sauna right there? I wouldn't. That's the beauty of it. For my player of the week, though, man, it's tough. There were a lot of good ones. I want to go with Clayton Dygert, though. Dygert, from UTSA, he threw 8 innings, gave up 8 hits, 1 walk, only 1 earned run, and it only took him 84 pitches. That's an absolute clinic in pitching to contact. And if you're like, hey, wait a minute, that's not pitching to contact. That's he's just not filling up the zone. Guess what? He didn't have a single strikeout. That is literally textbook definition. Pitching to contact as best you can.
That is very, very impressive. Is he your player too, or just your pitcher? Did you have it?
I started with pitcher. Pitcher. I'm a pitcher-led player.
That's understandable. That's very fair.
Go ahead.
If
you want me to go with a player of the week, though, there are a few that stood out. I want to go with AJ Gracia, though, because anytime you watch a young man hit 3 home runs in person in one game, they earn you saying they did good on your podcast. That's just a fact. Everybody knows how the rules go. So I'll do it. He was really impressive. He was really fun to talk to as well. He just talked about how he was happy that he wasn't facing Duke's pitching staff, which
that's super fair.
I would be too.
Smart guy. Jake, who you got for pitcher of the week?
Paul Skeens.
Okay.
Fair.
Good pick. Yeah.
I saw Paul Skeens in person today in the Pirates locker room, and it just reminded me how special that was, gentlemen. And I don't want to look backwards and not appreciate the present, but what a wonderfully fortunate thing we were able to witness last year. That man is a moose. He is a hoss. He is a donkey and a half. I am just flummoxed that we witnessed him obliterate college baseball. Because seeing him in a big league locker room was like, well, yeah. Like,
makes sense.
That is a great shout out. And I will also say, just to piggyback off of that, again, it's not as, again, the physical part is I think what you're getting at. Rhett Lauder threw for the first time as a pro this weekend in Reds camp, and just thinking back again to that game in Omaha, and he was also throwing quite hard. Maybe not Paul Skeens hard, but people were freaking out about Mr. Lauder in Reds camp. So yeah, we were very fortunate to watch these guys at the college level. My pitcher of the week is AJ Russell. AJ Russell struck out 10 for Tennessee. This was not someone I knew anything about last season. And I think by the end of this year, we are going to know a lot about AJ Russell. He is a sophomore, so not draft eligible, but talk about the Tennessee arms that have come through. Sure, they lose Chase Burns. This dude was just unbelievable. Another kid from Tennessee, wasn't really that high of a prospect, but he's gigantic. His fastball is ridiculous, and he made Texas Tech look very, very, very silly this weekend. So I am watching AJ. I'm very excited to lock in for AJ Russell starts moving forward this season. So shouts out to him. Stephen Schoch, your name is on this podcast.
It is.
And that is my transition to the update before we say goodbye for the Schoch Factor teams draft. Of course, we did this going into the season.
I'll see you guys.
No, wait. Oh,
no, he said before he says it.
Jake, don't you go anywhere quite yet. Again, remember, you can go back and listen. We drafted teams from the top 25, not straight from the top 25, from groups of 5 within the top 25, and then as well as from just missed, and then a couple wild cards. So we each drafted 10 teams. We're tracking all year long with a scoring system. Every win is 1 point. And I just wanted to give a quick update before we go, and I will try to do this every week as best I can. Stephen Schoch, you are in a very comfortable first place by a lot. Steve's 10 teams went, and I'm not going to read all the teams. Steve's teams went 24-5 this weekend. He is just absolutely on fire. And Coastal had 2 of those losses, so that tells you how good Steve.
I'm gonna have to talk to him.
I am in second place at 22-10. LSU 4-0 helps me. Stanford not looking so good. They dropped the game today.
Might guys somehow go under 500, Jordan?
No, 15-11 for Jake's boys, which is when you consider the schedule is not ideal. The Trojans 0-3, Louisville 0-2, and I guess Tennessee lost 1 game. Northeastern 1-2. So they played some tougher teams. So I guess I'll give you that. So again, it's early.
I'm looking good on the RPI then. Let's go.
I'm very confident that Jake's SOS is better than Steve and I's teams. I feel very, very good about that. But anyway, so we'll keep an eye on that. I think that'll be a fun thing to follow during the season. Again, I recommend going back and listening to that as the last episode we did. So we can end on that. Steve, you are the best. Steve, close us out, and Jake can get out of his car.
Jordan, I appreciate you keeping us updated on that, not making me do math. And Jake, I'm going to actually make this outro take 35 minutes, so you have to stay in your trunk a little bit longer. The Gettysburg Address was given on... No, thank you all so much for tuning into the Schoch Factor podcast. It was a great week 1 of college baseball. There was a ton of action, ton of home runs, ton of strikeouts, ton of people throwing hard, and a ton of excitement, believe it or not. There will be even more excitement all college baseball season long. Florida will join the party. They'll play baseball games too, and so will St. John's. They got rained out this weekend. We didn't get to see much of them. We didn't get to see all of Jack Caglione's glory. So make sure to tune in next weekend to actual baseball, and then tune into our podcast to us talking about that actual baseball. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.